I had no business opening CTS in 2010, and there's a few reasons why. Now, looking back in hindsight, everything's in hindsight, obviously. Like when you do things and you look back and you say, what was I thinking? Sometimes you shake your head and, sometimes you're like, wow, I don't know how we did that, but we did. Now, to look back, here's a bit of a backstory. So I was a Cal Poly kinesiology student, and ever since I was seventh, eighth grade, I had always wanted to go the route of having a training gym for athletes. That was like my big ambition, and so that's what I always had my mindset on. From that early on, I was just immersed in the gym culture. All right. And it was just almost like I've said earlier, it was almost like an obsession. And, fast forward to Cal Poly, SRJC first, the vision never strayed. And so I got to Cal Poly, and, I was doing sports, football and track, blah, 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 all that kind of good stuff. That's for another video. But, I landed an internship position at a personal training studio called Athlon Fitness and Performance. Shout out to Ryan Joyner. Took a chance on me as a undergrad student. I needed some internship hours for graduation requirement, and it changed my life because I knew right then and there that was the real test if I was going to really enjoy this as a career. And I fell in love with it from my first day. I knew I was going to love it. I just knew it. I had already had a little bit of experience with, writing programs for friends and, training people on the side just because, I enjoyed it. I really did enjoy helping people. And, people knew that I loved fitness and I loved working with people, and, it was a good fit for me. Okay. And so, again, fast forward to, the internship position that quickly led to, I completed the requirements. It was 200 hours of internship. And then I basically was like, I told Ryan, I want to keep working here. I really enjoy it. I will take whatever you can give me at the time. And, keep in mind, I was already working another job. I was working at Trader Joe's, and I was a full-time student. And, I got a very small part-time position at Athlon. And that quickly grew into something a little bit more, to where I was able to leave Trader Joe's and move on to start training as a college student. And so that was my first real training job. And, that was my real experience of training. I had no business knowledge though. It was strictly training and all the other stuff that I had learned from school and on my own, self-education, mentorships, purchasing books, DVDs, frequenting these message boards and forums that I would spend hours and hours on every single day, just trying to learn as much as I can to be the best trainer I could be. But I didn't think about investing in any sort of business education. I thought it would be very simple, and turns out it's not. And so, again, I go back to 2009 to 2010. I really had no business, like as a trainer with a couple years of experience, just jumping in and opening my own business. But, at the time, I felt it was right. I felt it was the right move for me. And if I could go back in time, I would probably give myself a few lessons, and I would give myself a few bits of advice. And here they are. Here are some bits of advice that I would give to myself and for you watching, that you can relate to your own life as well, not just with fitness. So number one, that would be, you need to understand the real risks of what you're taking on. And you have to be realistic too. And I was probably a little naive at the time. I was probably a little too optimistic, which was not a bad thing, right? And sometimes it's okay to have some, I guess you could say, naive optimism with certain things, to where you're going to go for it. Because if there's too much self-doubt and it creeps up, then you're never going to make a move. Right? And so that would be my first lesson, or my first bit of advice, would just, understand that there is a risk to every decision, especially going into business for yourself. It is extremely risky. There are no guarantees, and the odds of you making it in business are very small, very, very small. Okay. The second lesson would be, the whole mentality of if you build it, they will come, Field of Dreams. If you've seen that movie, you know what I'm talking about. Not the case. I thought that would be the case with CTS when I first opened. I thought, I'm going to have this super cool athlete training gym. I'm going to have people knocking my doors down. I'm from Napa. People know me. It'll be great. It didn't happen like that, unfortunately. I did not have people beating my doors down. I had to work for it. I did not, I don't know. I wasn't that I felt entitled to anything, but I just felt like it would have come easier than it did. And it did not. So that's the second thing, is like, you got to understand that things aren't just going to come to you. You got to work for it. You got to earn it. You got to earn people's trust. You got to earn the right to be trusted, especially with people that have young children that are going to work with you. You got to build rapport, and you got to show that you know what you're doing, because working with kids, you could royally screw it up big time, which is why I'm so passionate about this, is because there's a gap. And most people have no business training kids. Like, you can train adults, but training young student athletes, it's a whole different ballgame. And I'm not trying to discount people that only train adults. I'm not, because this is a hard profession. You got to be really good at what you do to deliver over and over again. Okay. And my last lesson of the day here, just looking back in hindsight, is, you should probably have a clear vision and a clear plan laid out. Don't just go by the seat of your pants. This is what I did. Okay. You should really know your numbers, and you should really know exactly what you're getting yourself into. And you need to know a little bit about business. Like, what's a profit loss statement? Like, how do you start an LLC? Like, what do you need to cover your bases? Insurance. You can be in trouble. Like, if you don't, like, workers' comp insurance is another one. Like, you got to have all that in place, which we did because we had, I invested in some coaching early on and some mentorship, and I was given some really good advice from the start. But luckily, I was not afraid to invest in my own education in this stuff, because I didn't go to business school. I didn't take any business classes. I was not a business major. I was a kinesiology major. There was no business courses in that, right, for me. So again, looking back, to kind of sum this up, the big lesson in this video is, if you're going to jump, if you're going to do this, then do it. But also understand that you need to have some of your ducks in a row before you go. Okay. But again, don't overthink it. Don't wait. You don't have to have perfection again to start. But if you're going to jump, just jump, and just trust that, if you keep investing in yourself and you really trust the process, and you are not afraid to seek out guidance from other people that have done it before you, then you'll do well. Because this is not a one-man show thing. This is not something that you can just take lightly. Okay. But again, I guess, like, to kind of circle back and sum this up, this can apply to anything in life, not just fitness or not just in business, but you are the sum of the people you hang around with, and you need to understand that investing in yourself is never a bad idea. If you're going to bet on yourself, then you better want to invest in yourself, because if you're asking other people to do the same, isn't that a little hypocritical if you're not doing that on your own, right? So that's how I looked at it. It's like, if I'm asking people to trust me, then I need to do the same, and I need to invest in myself as well to deliver. So that's kind of the big takeaway on this, and I hope that resonated. So I would love to hear your story, if you have something similar to where maybe you took a leap of faith, and you had to hire a mentor. You had to enroll in a course that was a little scary. Maybe it was a little costly at the time. I spent money I didn't have. I was putting money on credit cards. Didn't have cash for that stuff, but I knew it would pay off, and it has returned on my investment. So as long as you want to apply that information that you learned, that's the big takeaway as well. So learning and knowledge is one thing, but applied learning and knowledge is a whole different thing. You got to apply what you learned, or it means nothing. So I would love to hear from you. Drop a comment below. Let's keep this conversation going. And as always, this is day 3 of 28 days in our 15 years of CTS video series. A little longer today. I hope you got something out of it. And we'll be back tomorrow with our day 4 video. Thanks for watching.